Okay, in this video I'm going to show the assembly of the puzzle cube project. Just mention the mates that are up here, kind of how to insert, how to get your piece grounded at the origin. We are going to look at how to create an exploded view, which is found over here. And we're going to talk about how to get into your bill of materials and to update that, because this is what's going to use what your parts list is going to become. Okay, so even though I've already done that here, I'm going to flip back to my demo page and we're going to start right up. So the first thing you got to do is go to the Assembly tab down below. Instead of being in your Part Studio, go to the Assembly. Okay, if this little area doesn't show up, this little tab will expand it for you so you can see the pieces and the features that you're working on. This is like your browser while you're going through the assembly to see your parts and their relationships. So the first thing I'm going to do is insert the part that I want to be grounded. By choosing Insert, I have the option to bring in parts from my Part Studios or assemblies, and so I do have these tabs here. I can even go to other documents, but I'm going to stay within the current document and inside my Part Studio. And I'm going to bring in the blue part. So I select it here, and then once I've selected it, there's a difference between left clicking in the graphic window and choosing the green check mark. For your very first piece, clicking the green check mark is ideal because it's going to come in the current orientation and it should be attached to the origin. Now it's not grounded or fixed, it can still be moved, so the best thing is just to right click on it right away and then choose Fix. So now if I try to left click and drag this object around, it is not movable in space. I'm going to right click on it though and choose Unfix and show you briefly how to take a part that you didn't lock to the origin and how to get it there. So first thing, even though I can click and hold and drag, another thing that you can notice is that if you just do a single left click, you'll bring up this triad where you have your three axes and you can translate the part and move it around in space. The other thing you can do is you can grab the center of that and you can bring it and latch it onto a different geometry of the part, like that corner. Okay, once I've done that, I can choose that center, I can right click on it, and I can move it to the origin. Okay, now it might not be in the orientation you want though, right? So another thing, if I click on it, when these arrows show up, I can right click on an arrow and I can tell it to align with Z. Now Z is over here when you look at your view cube and you see the orientation of your X, Y, and Z axes. So this one's actually already aligned to the Z. It's pointing in the same direction as that. So if I choose that, nothing's going to happen. Try it with a different one real quick though, and you'll see that the part is going to rotate around so that axis that you had selected is pointing up. So I'm going to grab the one I really wanted, which is this one, and I'm going to align it with Z first. So this is a way to get your orientation different. You can also grab these little symbols, okay, and those are to control the rotational movement. So this is keeping Z in the orientation it is, but kind of rotating around that Z axis. And I'm going to keep it on 0 degrees. Okay, so assuming you've got the orientation you want, we're going to click, move the base of that triad to the corner I want to lock to the origin, and then I'm going to right click on that point and say Move to Origin. Once it's there, I can right click on the part and choose Fix. So that is the process of grounding the part to the origin if you hadn't gotten it to work the way you wanted to. Okay, next up is bringing in a second part and applying a constraint. So I'm going to choose Insert again, and for my assembly I'm going to bring in the orange part next. If you kind of look over here in the Part Studio, you can see the orange part, how it is kind of nested inside the blue part there. So I'm going to click on the orange part, and this time I'm going to just left click in the graphic window to place it, and then hit the green check mark to kind of finish inserting things right now. So instead of bringing all the parts in, I'll just bring in this one piece for right now. Okay, so one thing that's different about Onshape than what my students using Inventor are used to is that with Inventor we had to create several mates or flushes to get our part to be fully constrained and lock down all 6 degrees of freedom. But Onshape has been created in a way that you shouldn't, as they put it, you should not have to use more than one mate. They say if you're using more than one mate, then you need to stop and reevaluate what you're doing, and there probably was a better way. Okay, it will direct you, because I'm not going to go over all of these things, that in the Onshape learning course called Onshape Assemblies, which is inside the CAD Fundamentals course, it's a sub-course of that, that you're going to get to this. So mating assembly components, you're going to learn about mating and all the different mate types. So I'm not going to spend the time to go through all of these, but I just wanted to make that note that you're not supposed to have to use any one of them more than one time. So there's all different ones. So learn about those and kind of figure those out. So for us, I can tell you that we want this piece to come in here and we want it to be fixed. We don't want it to be able to move at all once it's in place, right? It's not an assembly where something's still supposed to rotate or slide, etc. So the very first one is called a fastened mate, and that will do the job for us. So how we use a lot of these tools is that there's going to be, as you hover over parts, you're going to see a little connector. And so that is giving you more than one thing, but one of the things is obviously a point in space, right? So we're going to want to kind of connect a point on the orange part with a point on the blue part. But we also got to help feed the orientation. So you notice the symbol also has a disc, and a disc is a flat shape. And so that, think of that as referencing a plane. We want to be mindful of the direction of that disc on both parts, okay? So, because they are going to become coplanar. So I really want this face right here to kind of be flushed with this face. So this face and this face are going to become coplanar, right? But the geometry to align it, I'm going to use, say, this corner right here and that corner. Those corners should be touching. Okay, so when I grab that corner, what I have to be mindful of is what direction that disc is facing on that corner. So right here, that disc is normal to, if you're paying attention up here, the x-axis. I'm looking at my view cube. Okay, and over here, the way I just kind of went to that vertex, it's actually normal to the y-axis. So I want them to both be pointed in the same orientation as the part should come to rest. So I'm going to hover more in the middle of the face to get that disc to be normal to the axis I want, the y. Then I'll move to the correct corner and select it. You know you selected it when the whole shape kind of highlights. Then I'm going to move to the blue part, again, go to the face to get the disc normal to the axis you want, and then move to the vertex. Click again, and it should create that mate. I'm going to choose the green check mark to accept it. Before you do that, though, inside this menu, know that you can choose different orientations. While those points are going to stay connected, you could look at rotating, okay, if it didn't go into the orientation you want, or you can also choose flipping it. So we haven't contradicted my selections yet. These are just other options within my selections. Mine are coming in just the way I wanted them, though, because of how I modeled in my Part Studio. So from here, I'll speed the video up, but I'm going to go ahead and finish my assembly and bring. So there we have it. I have my completed puzzle cube in terms of the assembly. So next, let's look at how to do the exploded view. Over on the right side of your screen, you have this little handle. There's 3 tabs. Okay, if you click any one of those, you're going to have this menu expand out here. The bottom one is the one used to create exploded views. You can actually create more than one exploded view, but we're just going to create one. I'm going to choose Add Exploded View, this button at the top, to begin creating an exploded view. And I'm going to basically have a little browser here that kind of starts to show me what I'm going to, what things I had done. It says build steps by dragging components. Select components in the graphics area or the instance list over here. Then drag or rotate them using the triad manipulator. So I can grab this edge and make that a little smaller so I have more room to work with. Change my zoom level to help me out. You'll notice that up above here I have a message that lets me know I am editing the explode one. And so I'm going to begin to pull my shape apart, one piece at a time. So I think I will grab the purple piece and bring it straight up. So I select it, and then I use the triad manipulator, and I just pull that straight up. And I like to make sure that the parts are not kind of upstaging or overlapping each other in this isometric view that I'm going to use. So I'm going to accept that, and then I'm going to choose another part. And again, I'm always trying to make sure that I kind of extend or move these parts in a direction that they don't pass through each other in space, so they don't look like ghosts. Okay, so that's it. I just created an exploded view. I am done editing it, so I can just press done. When I do that, it's going to go back to the assembly, and that's okay. How do I get to see my exploded view? Is I just come over here. If this was closed, I'll press the button, and then I can double click on the name of the explosion that I want to see. And there it is. And I can double click on it again, it'll close, and I can close this window. So there are 3 tabs. To close this, you have to press the one that you're currently on. If you press a different one, then you're actually going to move to that panel. So let's go ahead and go into the BOM, which stands for Bill of Materials. My Inventor students are used to creating what we call a parts list. In the menu in Inventor, it's called Parts List. Here, this is a Bill of Materials. It's basically the same thing. So when we get to the drawing sheet, we want to be able to bring that parts list or bill of materials onto our drawing page. This is where we're going to kind of define what's part of it. So we're going to do it right here. So first off, I can see that I've got several columns that are already here, and this is editable. I'm not going to use the part number, so I'm going to go ahead and right click on that. So right clicking on this column header gives me options to move it right or left, and also to remove the whole column. So I'm going to remove it. Alright, and description, I'm actually going to leave. We'll throw something in there. But if I want to add something, like say the file names, I've already given all these parts names, blue part, orange part, etc. If you click this little drop down, you have all these other things that can become part of your bill of materials. And name is actually your file names right here, kind of part names. So I'm going to choose name, because that's already been something that I've created. And I don't want it to be on the end, so I'm going to right click and move it to the left. So I'll have my order this way. This will be the item number. This is going to be what's going to be in my balloon. And then it shows quantity, how many of those parts we have, and the name. All right, description. When we do the Puzzle Cube project, we had a constraint that said you had to have so many parts created with X number of cubes, right? And so let's go ahead and just use the description box to acknowledge how many of those linking cubes it took to build each part. So I can see the blue shape right here. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I basically just come over here, and I think I have to double click, but nope, I just single clicked. So I can say 6 linking cubes, or 6 blocks, or whatever you want to call it. And I can go through here and update all of those. Okay, so there you go. Now you have it. We have completed our assembly, we've created an exploded view, and we have updated our bill of materials. So in the next video, we will show you how to start putting these things onto a drawing sheet. The assembled view, the exploded view, multi-view drawings of each individual part, and how to add that bill of materials in and add balloons to connect everything. All right, hope this is helping you guys out.